Hey everybody, stay tuned where Pratibha and I will be talking about what the Cloud Adoption Framework is and why it can help you with your cloud adoption journey. Welcome to the Azure Enablement Show. In this show, we're going to be talking to Microsoft experts about some of the questions and challenges you might face when you're on your cloud adoption journey. Now, we're going to be starting off by talking about the Cloud Adoption Framework, and to take me through the Cloud Adoption Framework is Pratibha. Pratibha, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sarah. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So this Cloud Adoption Framework, what exactly is it?
Yeah, so the Cloud Adoption Framework is really a collection of best practices and guidance that we have gathered through our experience, our engineers working with our customers, our partners supporting customers, and customers themselves who've shared their stories with us. So it's all that rich knowledge and experience that we have consolidated into a single location, which is the Cloud Adoption Framework.
So who actually created it and why do we have it?
Yeah, so when you think about the cloud adoption journey, there's so many different options, choices out there, and every organization's journey to the cloud is actually very unique because it's tailored to their specific business needs, their organizational setup, their business priorities. And because of all of this, there were so many different conflicting pieces of information out there that were creating confusion in the minds of customers. And there was this constant ask of, hey, give me a clear, consistent, proven way of doing things right in the cloud. And that's where the Cloud Adoption Framework really comes in very useful, because it is all that rich experience that we've gathered together into that single location and consolidated into one place as part of the framework.
Awesome. That sounds fantastic. Now, who is this Cloud Adoption Framework for? Is it the IT people, or is it for the business decision makers, or is it a combination? Who are we actually aiming this towards?
Yeah, so the key roles in an organization, if you ask me, that would find this framework very useful would be technical decision makers and cloud architects. However, if you keep those job titles aside, it is anybody who's looking for answers to questions like, hey, how do I get started with this thing? Who are the people in my organization that need to be involved and support me in this process? Are there any tools and templates and resources out there that can help me get started? So if you have any of those questions, then Cloud Adoption Framework really hopes to address the answers to those.
Great, thank you for clearing that up. So where exactly does the Cloud Adoption Framework live? Could you show me it actually, please?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I really show you the framework, Sarah, I'd like to just use one quick slide to give you a visual reference of, what's the structure of the Cloud Adoption Framework. So if you can see the slide, the structure of the framework is very modular, and we have these six main modules out here, which we call methodologies as part of the framework. And these methodologies align to the different phases of a common cloud adoption journey, starting with defining your strategy, where an organization has to think about why you're moving to the cloud. What are the business motivations or drivers for cloud adoption? And then you go into the plan phase, where you think about, okay, what's my current digital estate? What needs to move first, if it needs to move first? And what are the people that are going to be involved, or the stakeholders that need to be involved to help make that move? Are there any skills gap out there and in the people, and that we need to close off on? So you think about all those different aspects, and then put together a single actionable cloud adoption plan, where all the stakeholders get aligned to that single source of truth. And then you move into the ready phase, where you start thinking about, okay, how do I prepare my cloud environment with the proper governance and compliance in place to move the workloads into the cloud? And then eventually, in that adopt phase that you see, the workloads actually get deployed to the cloud. And at the bottom of this visual, you will see those the govern and manage methodologies. With every iteration of plan, ready, adopt, every iteration of cloud adoption cycle, you have to think about, are you running a well-governed footprint in the cloud? Do you have the proper guardrails? Do you have the proper governance? Do you have the right operational best practices? So the governance and management module are really, really helpful to think about there. So that's really the structure of the framework, and I'm going to jump right into showing you where that actually lives. So this is the landing page of the Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework for Azure, Sarah. And as you see here, we have this tiled interface, and these tiles are aligned to those modules or methodologies that I shared with you in the slide. And right from this interface, I can jump straight into the methodology that I wanna look at. For example, if I'm an organization, just getting started, and I want to think about creating my cloud strategy, and I want to understand, okay, how do I think about the motivations and how does that translate into the cloud strategy? I can go straight into the content article on motivations where I can read up about what are the most common motivations that organizations have for moving to the cloud, and how then that becomes a basis of creating the cloud strategy and the technology strategy. Another example, if I'm an organization ready to go, I have my strategy in place, I've got the cloud adoption plan, and now I want to think about preparing the cloud environment to start moving the workloads, and I want to learn more about the landing zones, then I can jump straight into the Azure landing zones article from here, where I can go deep into this topic, understand the different design areas, what are the different implementation options out there for creating landing zones, and go from there. And once you're right here, you can see that we have this nice tree view navigation here where I can go up and down depending on which methodology I'm interested in going deep in. So it's a single place, but you can start navigating from here. So that's really where the Cloud Adoption Framework lives.
Awesome. Thank you for taking me through that. I'm starting to get a real clear picture of what the Cloud Adoption Framework is. What I'm wondering though, is the Cloud Adoption Framework just documentation, or is it built on other things as well?
Yeah, so at the face of it, it looks like documentation alone, but in actual fact, we are trying to create tools and templates that make this guidance in the documentation very actionable. So it's not just material to read and learn, but it's also to act on that guidance through using those tools and templates. And I'm going to use some slides to show you some of those. So if you can give me a moment. Yep. So let's start with Microsoft assessments. So Microsoft assessments are really Q&A based Q&A style tools that help customers evaluate where they are in their journey to the cloud, and then get pointed to the right place within the documentation to get started, depending on their responses to that questionnaire. So we have a couple of assessments here, and I want to start talking about the first one here, which is the Cloud Journey Tracker. This one really helps you evaluate what exactly is your cloud adoption, be very specific cloud adoption need, and finds you recommendations within the documentation to get going. And then we have the Strategic Migration Assessment and Readiness tool, which helps evaluate your preparedness, your organization's preparedness to do cloud migration at scale. And lastly, we have the Governance Benchmark, which, as you know, is very top of mind for our customers. It helps evaluate if there are any gaps in your current state of governance, and gives you recommendations on how do you close those gaps. So that's Microsoft assessments. In addition to that, we have other tools and templates as well that support your journey in different places or different points of that end-to-end journey that we saw earlier. We have the Cloud Adoption Plan template. This is, as I talked about, that actionable plan that organizations should create in the plan methodology. The Cloud Adoption Plan template provides you guidance on what are the key components that you need to include in that cloud adoption plan. You need to include the skills readiness plan, you need to include the security, governance, compliance plan, and bring all the stakeholders on a common platform of understanding where you're at in your cloud journey. And once you have that cloud adoption plan template, what you can do is deploy it onto Azure DevOps. And we have another tool called the Azure DevOps Plan Generator, which takes that cloud adoption plan template and makes it actionable in Azure DevOps. So just like any other project in Azure DevOps, it will be trackable, it will be completely visible to all your stakeholders in the organization. And lastly, we have tools and templates to support Azure landing zones, which help customers prepare their cloud environment. Azure landing zones have different implementation options, and I believe we'll be talking more about that in later episodes as part of the series. But what we've done is, along with the implementation options and the guidance and the documentation, we've actually created tools and templates to deploy those landing zones into Azure, making it faster for our customers to build the cloud environments. We have Azure landing zone blueprints, which can give you a basic foundational MVP of that landing zone, and then you can evolve that later on as your cloud adoption evolves. We have the enterprise scale landing zone, which is, if you need a very rich initial implementation with proper governance and security. And then lastly, we just very recently released the Terraform module for cloud adoption framework enterprise scale. So all of these tools and templates are really, with the goal of making that guidance actionable.
Awesome. It sounds like we've got a great source of additional resources for our customers to look into. Now, the visual you showed me earlier showed a journey through the cloud adoption framework. Is that a left to right journey, or can you dive in at any point during that journey and pick it up?
Yeah, so that's a very common question we often get asked, Sarah. So no, it's not a linear left to right journey. You can really get onto the process depending on where you are at. And the obvious question is, how do you know where you're at in that process? So there are two ways to address that. So one is Microsoft assessments, which I briefly talked about, which can guide you depending on where you're at to the right place in the documentation to get started. And the second one is another key resource that we have called the Get Started Guides. And I'm going to actually show you that. So back to our documentation landing page right here, we have a section called the Get Started Guides. And from here, you can go straight into, different Get Started guides. So what are these guides? The guides are really aimed at addressing common challenges that customers may face in their cloud journey. So for example, you may have a challenge or a scenario like, hey, I want to migrate existing workloads to the cloud, or, how do we think about delivering operational excellence during cloud transformation? How do I manage enterprise costs? So for each of these scenarios, these different scenarios, the step-by-step guide provides you, as the name suggests, a step-by-step walkthrough of what are the key critical steps that you should take to be able to address those scenarios. So I'll give you an example. For example, let's look at this one, a very common one. We want to migrate existing workloads to the cloud. And if you look at this page, as I scroll down, these critical steps that customers should be thinking about to be able to address that scenario that you have. Now, actually, all this documentation is spread across the different phases, but the cloud adoption, but the Get Started Guides brings it together as a very succinct Get Started guide for you to get going. So that's what the Get Started Guides really addresses, and we're building new scenarios into the guides.
Brilliant. So if a customer is looking for some help along this journey, can our partners, our Microsoft partners, actually help them on this journey, or is it something they should be doing themselves?
Absolutely. So the partners are very much part of the cloud adoption journey of our customers. What our partners are doing is they're aligning their solution offerings to the different methodologies of the framework. And what I'm sharing right now on the screen is this landing page that we have, which captures or lists all these partner offers or solution offers out there, which are aligned to the different phases. So you could actually filter based on your specific need. If you're looking for a migration related offering, or you're looking at some of the other methodologies, you can get going from this landing page and get help from our partners.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Pratibha. I've really got a clear idea of what the Cloud Adoption Framework is. Now, if you want to check out some of the resources that Pratibha actually mentioned, check out our description box where we're going to be dropping the links. And please do stay tuned for future episodes of the show where we're going to be digging into some of those additional resources that Pratibha mentioned. Thank you.